two. Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Payson, and I'm excited to have Shawn, the Filipino Flash Juicer, back on the show. And I should say, fresh off a professional stoppage win, undefeated in his pro career, 3-0. Welcome back to the show, Shawn.
Yeah, it's actually 5-1 as a pro now.
Oh, look at me. I thought I had double checked your record, but that's okay. 5-1 as a pro. I'm so sorry, but still, very good win. I should have quit when I was ahead. Stoppage win over the weekend. Why don't you talk about that fight?
Guy missed weight by like 4 pounds the night before, so that was I guess more motivation. But went in there and I just felt really at peace before walking out there. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm generally not too nervous before the fights, but for this one, it was just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It felt like every, like, people say their sins are lifted, but that's kind of what it felt like. Like, not like I had sins that were lifted, but like all my anxiousness or nervous energy or any uncertainty was just lifted, and I was at peace with the fact that the outcome will be the outcome, if that makes sense. And I knew that I wasn't going to lose if I felt like that walking in. And I went out there and got he tried to like pressure me against the fence and got like a nice single leg. Like, I chained probably 3 takedowns and then got the single leg. And then I got to mount and was going for a power guillotine. And then he did a pretty good job at defending that. And then I rolled to my back to maybe try and work the guillotine from there. But he hand fought. And then I'm really good off my back. So I was like, oh, well, he's probably going to give me something. The arm was there, and that was the first armbar is the first submission I ever learned, even before I started jiu-jitsu 14 years ago. And I might have broke his arm, I don't know. And I got the tap in a minute, and then I also got my black belt in jiu-jitsu too in the cage. So that was very special moment.
Yeah, I want to know more about you getting the black belt. You shared on Facebook, I believe, that it was very emotional, that you teared up. What was that like? Who presented it to you? And what was that emotion like, winning by armbar submission? You're 5-1 as a pro. All 5 of those pro wins have been by submission. Probably what I was thinking of when I said earlier. So what was it like? Like, was that expected, or was that a complete surprise? Who was your coach, and how did he award it to you? What was that like for you?
Well, game plan, really, we knew that all we thought we had to worry about really was like, he comes out blasting kicks or whatever, but he came out blasting or throwing punches. I don't think he really landed. He landed like a shot or 2 on the ground and pound. But yeah, the armbar, I knew I would catch something. I was originally setting up a triangle, but the arm presented itself, and I felt like everything was in slow motion. Like, as I said, I was just very dialed in and a flow state, and the arm presented itself, or maybe it didn't. I just like
made it, forced it,
have that different. And then I wasn't sure if I was getting it. I was slated to get it at the latest on our holiday party. They usually do big promotions on the holiday party.
Okay.
And so the old black belt instructor at my gym died recently. And he said, I told him before he died, like, I'd rather get it at if I win my next fight instead of the holiday party. And he said, well, I think we can make some work out. So he gave my coach his black belt, and we're all under Renzo Gracie and John Rollo at ground control. And my coach talked to John Rollo, who runs Shogun and runs our gym, and they agreed like it was a good time to give it to me, if I won. And when they were announcing or about to announce the decision, my coach slapped me on the back with it and put it around my shoulders. And when I realized what I had gotten, I started crying because it's been 14 years and I felt like it was overdue. So it's like you finally get that promotion that you've been waiting for, and just filled with emotions. So that meant more to me than every one of my victories as an amateur or pro, getting that recognition and promotion for something I've been working 14 years at. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I think everybody has their passions and their focus, and anything that you put 14 years into and build up over time. Obviously, you're a professional. Your amateur career, you were undefeated. Your professional career, you're 5-1. Tapology hasn't updated the records yet, but I'm sure you're moving up the ranks as far as regional rankings as a pro, because 5-1 as a pro is a big deal, all by submissions. When you talk about getting the black belt, sounds like it was a great timing, but you had also just won by submission. Do you think that influenced it all, or was it you were going to get it if it was a decision? But how perfect was it that you had slapped on a submission and got a tap to get the black belt? It's like that timing was perfect.
Yeah, I think so, because my striking coach was like, it'll be really weird if you give it to him if he wins by knockout or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I had a dream a couple weeks ago that I won my fight by knockout by elbow. So I was like, that would be kind of funny if I got it then. But yeah, my coach was like, we work at striking hard, but I don't care as long as you keep submitting all these people. It doesn't matter to me. I had no idea it was going to happen. I actually, when I went on the cage, I was like, where's my fucking black belt? Like, not knowing I was getting it, just like, yeah, I just submitted this guy who's hard to submit. His fight before that, he went 3 rounds with a college wrestler and brown belt in jiu-jitsu too, and that guy didn't come close to submitting him. So the fact that I go out and submit him in a minute, but yeah, it was I don't think I would have had the emotions if I knew it was coming. And my coach just did a really good job at the secret. So yeah, I was just very, very the feeling was ineffable. I don't know how to describe it. It was just like a very big rush of emotions, and I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah,
To say the least.
absolutely. And I'm looking at your age being 27. You said 14 years, so you started BJJ at 13. I'm back up. I've had you on the show a bunch. I didn't really realize, I guess, maybe it didn't stick in my mind that you started BJJ at 13. What led to that all those years ago? And kind of how has that evolved? Not only are you a black belt, but you're a black belt who's been doing it since you were literally in 9th grade or whatever grade you would have been in at 14. I think that's 9th grade. So talk a little bit about what got you into it all those years ago.
Yeah, so we started in the 4th grade. We used to go in my backyard and just wrestle on the trampoline, doing missions we'd see on WWE. And I think around Chuck versus Rampage, I started watching UFC. So then I started trying out some of the submissions I learned from watching with my friends. And then summer going into the 8th grade, so I was 13, started I would free trial jiu-jitsu class at a gym called Crazy 88. And I told my dad to sign me up first day. I was like, I love this, and never stopped.
Wow.
and then yeah, I had a bunch of jiu-jitsu tournaments and wrestling, wrestled all 4 years in high school. Just had competed a bunch in that. So fights to me are just another competition, because I've had hundreds of wrestling and jiu-jitsu matches. So yeah, it all led to that. And I think because I do MMA, I was held at belts for longer than I felt I should have. I was a white belt for 4 years. Should have got my blue belt once I turned 16, but for whatever reason that got prolonged. And then I didn't get it till I was 18. And then I was a blue belt for 4 years. Purple belt was quick. That was a year and a half. And then brown belt, I was a brown belt for 4 years. I think I should have got it last year, but they didn't want to promote too many of us to black belt at once. They did 2, and they didn't want to do 3. So So yeah, it was just I was held at all the belts for a long period of time, so it's like I felt like it was overdue. But I think that's a common thing with a lot of MMA fighters is being at belts for long periods of time. Like you'll see guys that should be like a black belt or something like that, but they're a blue belt because they never do gi.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where obviously the professors, the black belt professors that are doing the belt promotion, they have their own strategy and mindset. Obviously, nogi is really, I think, exploding and becoming kind of more accepted, but there's still belts are tied more to the gi mindset. Although I do know that there are some gyms I think that are doing like no gi only belt promotions where they get like a rash guard that has the belt
Yeah.
on it since they're not actually wearing. But yeah, it's part of the culture and the BJJ. 247, that's how I got to know you because you competed on a 247 event a couple years ago and got a great win over Justin the General Patton. But 247, if you don't know, has started to do these super fights in the cage where they're no gi submission only. I don't know if you've heard, but they're on their second event of doing that, and there's a lot of fans that come out for it, and it's kind of interesting that BJJ world, like you said, might sort of hold you back because of the MMA, whereas sort of the opposite, a lot of MMA fans don't know a ton about jiu-jitsu. They're more of the elbow kick punch fan part of MMA. And I think it's been great for 247 doing these sprawl in the berg or any type of jiu-jitsu, but it just happens to be they're putting on these jiu-jitsu matches in the cage. And it's getting MMA fans to appreciate what like a submission only grappling jiu-jitsu no-gi event is like. In the first event, they had UFC Hall of Famer Gray Maynard compete, and that really helped sort of bridge the gap between pure MMA and jiu-jitsu. So I think there's always going to be a give or take between those two sports for sure. Sounds like jiu-jitsu was like your first true love, obviously in martial arts. When did you start getting into the MMA component? You started at 13 or 14 in jiu-jitsu. When did you start training more of the MMA?
I sparred for the first time when I was 15,
Oh,
like kickboxing sparring. I'd say, well, the first time I ever did Muay Thai, we were like drilling leg kicks without any shin guards, and I was like, "This sucks. I don't want to do this. This hurts. I'll just stick with jujitsu." But we'd still practice. Like my coach would have us drill basic hand combinations and stuff like that. And then I think when I was like a year and a half in, I started doing more Muay Thai and then sparred for the first time when I was 15. So I'd say I was trained a little bit of everything when I was 15, but then when I was 18, right out of high school, is when I really started training MMA more heavily. So I'd already been like training everything, but that's like when I started turning like to MMA as the pursuit when I was 18.
18. Okay. Gotcha. That is
Yeah.
that is really cool. It's always great to see that progress at 27 now, which I think is you're at a great age where you are because I know a lot of UFC, the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. A lot of the guys getting on there are somewhere between like 26 and 28, 29, that range with a lot of fights. Are you at spitting distance at 5-1 from a couple more fights and then looking at Dana White this summer, or is it one fight at a time? I mean, what's kind of on the horizon? 5-1 with 5 finishes, all by submission. And I know like Ryan Hall, who made it to the UFC and a submission guy. Like, there's a lot of excitement around high level submission guys, and obviously you're one of them. From your amateur to your pro career, you have a lot of submissions. You're very flashy, aha, reference to your nickname, but it truly is. You're a very exciting fighter to watch. And at 5-1, is there talk to continue to fight? I know you've had a lot of fights at Shogun. Is there? Are you in talks, or is it just you just won last week and you'll deal with that in the future, which is obviously okay too?
We're trying to get the high quality video of the fight to get it over to one championship, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the goal. I manage. I'm with Iridium. They specialize in getting fighters to the UFC, so they have more of a blueprint for that as opposed to say one championship. I asked him like what would a roadmap look for that, and he said if you're 6 or 7-1, come next summer because that's when Contender Series rolls around. They could easily get me on there at 6-1 or 7 or whatever, and one I'll be at that point. So yeah, Contender Series is, or even a short. So it's either you fight on Contender Series or you get a short notice UFC fight.
Yeah.
Unless you just are like 5-1 or something like that, then you'll get a full camp for
Okay.
UFC. But those are the two options. As I've said before, one championship's where I think I'll be able to maximize my career, but I'll take whoever wants me first. I got no gripes between either or. I'd prefer to fight in one championship, but obviously UFC is the UFC. So if like I could fight there, then I'll fight there.
Yeah.
I'm at a point right now, entering my prime and stuff, I guess you would say, even though my jujitsu coach doesn't think I'm there yet. He thinks I'll hit there around 30, that I feel like I'm ready to go. Like, let's go see what I can do against guys. But yeah, there's only one way to find out, right? Keep fighting, and then when we get there, we'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, the path, whether it be UFC or ONE FC, you've been on the show before and talked about how ONE FC you think can fit better for your goals. And obviously that would be awesome. I think they do an incredible job. They do a lot of really exciting matchups. I think ONE FC has also done like kickboxing in the cage. Like they tend to put on like shows to show off their talent. And obviously, I think you are perfect for ONE FC or UFC. Always kind of cool. We don't always get to talk about on this show, but like that level where you are, where you're getting professional sports managers, getting a management team that's a famous management team, like you're beyond just a 1-0 or 2-0 pro. Like you're deeper into your pro career, and obviously those things start to come together. Always very exciting. I won't push you for a timetable for your next fight because you just fought last week. I'd love to have you back on when your next fight is announced, wherever that happens to be. Of course, it might be a short notice, and then we'll deal with it after you make whatever that happens to be. But always very exciting.
Yeah.
Let's throw out a gym related question, because obviously I know you from fighting on 247, but I also know kind of people from your gym. Who's exciting? And I know that this is a great question because Ground Control has a lot of up and coming fighters or also jiu-jitsu practitioners, since your first love is jiu-jitsu. Who's kind of people to watch coming out of your gym?
So it's pretty cool right now. Vince Mosca's just had his third pro boxing match. He won in like 30 seconds. Then I was last weekend, and then my teammate Marcus Pollock, he's like 5-time IKF champion and won like several kickboxing tournaments and whatnot. He's making his MMA debut. He's also a bantamweight, so I've been working his like overall MMA game. Obviously, Vince is working the striking, so exciting to see how he's going to do because he's a good striker with a little bit of wrestling, fighting a pretty high level purple belt. So we'll kind of like a reverse grappler match there. I'm excited to see how he does. And then my buddy Jesse Stern, he's fighting in PFL again. He's actually going to be on the championship card. So the championship finale, he's going to be on the undercard for that. And it's going to be in DC. I got tickets for that. And then, and my buddy Keon Lomax, he's who I'm excited for as he continues to climb through the amateur ranks. He's a stellar fight champion. He's been sidelined the last couple of months. He got in a car accident, got a concussion from that, but he's good now, it seems. And I think 2024 will be a really good year for him as he has his last couple amateur fights and then moves on to the pro rankings. So we got some and a lot of Vince produces a lot of great amateur kickboxers too. We're making some moves. Oh yeah, my buddy Will Breslin, he had his pro debut over on Shogun 2 and won by first round knockout. So he's got sky's the limit for him too. So we got a couple of people as I listed off. with some potential. I think, it wouldn't be too long before we keep getting guys in the big leagues. So
Oh yeah, I mean the fact that you're listing off so many high level talent. I'll extend a general invite to all the people you mentioned to reach out to me. I'd love to have them on MMA Fancast. It's fun to have the connection I have with your coach Vince, going way back to his amateur days. I think maybe 8 years ago now. So it's kind of always been fun to kind of follow people as they come along. I had him on the show right after his quick knockout to stay undefeated as a pro boxer. You're always a fun, exciting guest. Can't wait to see kind of how you get to the big leagues, wherever that happens to be. The PFL, that champion event in DC. I looked at it because I was hoping to go, but I think it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, right? I think it is. The PFL champion.
It's the 24th, so that's the day after Thanksgiving.
Is it
Black
the day
Friday.
after? It's the Friday after
Yeah.
or the Wednesday before? Okay.
Yeah, come through, man. The 24th. So yeah, it is the day after Thanksgiving.
Day after. Okay. Yeah, I know that's not a federal holiday, and so it's always a hard day to get off because working for the federal government, that's a day that everybody else wants off. If it can work for me to get off, I'd love to come. But regardless, it's great for you to already have plans to go to that fight. So thanks. I mean, just incredible. The ground control. Obviously, in the name, it sounds very ground heavy, but with Vince and everybody else you got there, you're a well balanced gym. BJJ black belt in your case, as well as all the way up to kickboxing champs to an undefeated pro boxer, who I'm sure you've got gym members who are just jiu-jitsu. I would imagine you've got jiu-jitsu specialists at your gym too. Very well-rounded. I'm honored to have been able to interview you about getting your black belt. Clearly that means a lot to you. So thanks for taking time to come on to talk about your quick armbar win and also getting black belt. I guess at this point from now on, I'll try to remember to introduce you as black belt Shawn Schuster, because you more than earned it. And that process of taking 14 years to get it, I guess it makes it more sweet when it finally arrives. And I really appreciate you coming on and talk about it.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Always fun. Thanks so much. You listen to Luke Payson for MMA Fancast with the newly minted black belt, 5-1 pro, Shawn, the Filipino Flash Schuster. Thanks so much for coming on, Shawn.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.